Yes, ma'am.
Good morning to one and all. On behalf of MES IMCC and Senior College, I, Dr. Poonam Rawat, Assistant Professor with MES Senior College, extend a hearty welcome to today's guest speakers, Mr. Vishwajit Khadilkar and Mr. Mandar Sahasrabuddhe, for today's second webinar from our webinar series on career opportunities in data management and data science. I welcome all the participants in this meeting and all those who are watching us live on our YouTube channel. We also have with us in this program, Dr. Santosh Deshpande, Director IMCC, Dr. Ravindra Vedya, HOD of MCA Department, MES IMCC, Dr. Ravikant Jirmite, Program Coordinator of MES Senior College. We also have Mr. Atul Nayak, Chief Information Security Officer of Jalgaon Bank, Mr. Mukul Kulkarni, Assistant Professor with IMCC MCA, Dr. Mansi Bhate, Training and Placement Head with IMCC. I welcome all my fellow colleagues and professors from IMCC and MES Senior College. So now it's time to listen to our experts. But before that, participants, we request you to keep your questions ready and please send your questions to us through the chat box. Now let me introduce our first guest speaker for today. We take pride in inviting our alumnus of IMCC MCA and Abba Sahib Garware College of Arts and Science, Mr. Vishwajit Khadilkar. He is currently working in the capacity of data engineer analyst at RNHB Netherlands. He has done MS in data analytics from National College of Ireland. Sir has earlier worked as technical lead data analyst with HCL Technologies Netherlands, senior data analyst with Accenture Pune, and IT analyst with TCS Pune. He has a strong background in data warehousing and ETL process using tools like Informatica Power Center, Informatica Power Exchange, Informatica Cloud, Informatica Big Data, Data Stage, SSIS, and SAS Enterprise Guide. Let me now introduce our second guest speaker, Mr. Mandar Sahasrabuddhe, co-founder and business head at COVID Bioanalytics Pune. Sir has done his post-graduation in MSc in Bioinformatics from Pune University and BSc in Zoology from SP College Pune. He has earlier worked as senior member of domain team with Krishagni Solutions Private Limited and as domain lead with Persistent Systems. Currently, as bioinformatics analyst, he is analyzing NGS data, developing NGS pipelines, designing databases for pharmacogenomics datasets, analyzing clinical research data, requirements analysis for bioinformatics and clinical informatics projects. I extend a hearty welcome to both the guests. And now I request Vishwajit Khadilkar sir to please take on the stage.
Thank you, ma'am. And good morning, all of you. I would like to thank IMCC for giving me this opportunity. And I'll start with the most important question. Why choose career in data? So, the Economist newspaper in 2017 published a report which stated that in today's world, the most important resource is no longer oil, but it's data. And that statement is completely true. If you see all the development that is happening towards gathering data and getting meaningful results out of it. And in this area particularly, we can play a huge role. It can be from technical perspective, or it can be from the domain perspective or business perspective to make sense of the data. And in today's session, how we will go through this process is I'll start with how you can go from being a technical person to understanding data better and transition into the business field. And Mandar will then take over and tell you about the journey from the other side. If you are already expert in certain field, how can you use the technology to use that expertise in solving real world problems? So basically, first question is, what are the fields that are affected that are using data extensively. There's no limit, to be honest. So it cuts across all the fields that you can think of. It can be governments, it can be banking, it can be healthcare, it can be education, aviation, entertainment, social media. So basically, all the aspects of our daily life are affected by data. Only question is how we gather that data and how we process that data. And to do that, there are certain technical skills that we need to acquire. So I'll get into that initially. To start with, once we gathered the data, first question is how do we store it? Where do we store it? And who takes care of all the data that is present with the agency, government agency, or uh, any company? And that provides us with the first opportunity in the technical terms, which is database administrator or data architects. So this role basically needs people that understand technology and platforms very well. So I myself started working as IT analyst. So I started working from the technical aspect of the data. I was working for a bank. They had a huge amount of data. They wanted some help to organize it in a proper way, want it to be easily accessible. And I just started doing that. From that, the transition that I said from being a technical person to a really techno-functional person started. So I started understanding, okay, now we have data, but why does business have that data? Why are they investing millions of dollars in this data? What they are trying to do with it? And I got interested in the banking domain. It can be any domain that you work with, but if we say data professional career has a certain life cycle, one of the phases is gaining technical expertise. So I would say I started as a developer, completely technical background, BSc, electronics, MCA, knows how to code, writes queries. Now the phase was to move to the next one. Being a technical person, being uh, uh, a DBA is one thing, making sense of data is other. So I started learning the financial terms, how that is used in liquidity or loan pricing. And that helped me become data analyst, which is the next phase of techno-functional. And uh, I would come to the skill set that is required, but I would say there is no uh, profession or role in data that allows you only to be technical or functional anymore. So initially we started with solving real world problem just by storing data. So businesses saw, okay, if we store data, it's easier for us to do it using computers. That's the technical aspect. But then business got curious. Okay, which questions can we solve using this? Can we see back in our history, in our data? Are there any certain trends? And to make that sense, you need business. So I would say, sorry for that, that took me to the journey of exploring finances and being a data analyst. So what data analyst does is works closely with business and gathers requirements, converts them to real world problems using data, creates dashboards, and then yeah, help business make money. Uh, if we see from technical to techno functional uh, journey, what roles can you look at? It can be data administrator, like I said, or storage manager. It can be a data architect, data integration, or ETL developer who basically brings data from different sources. It can be a data from text file. It can be a data from Excel file. It can be just an Oracle database. It can be a data that is coming from an app. You want somewhere uh, where that data is in the same format. That's where data integration or ETL developer comes in. Once that is there, the company has now an asset called data warehouse, which is a repository of all the historical data that is generated by it. To exploit that, to use that, we move to the next phase where we use data modelers, data designers, data analysts, and business intelligence analysts. These are techno-functional roles where we look at the data, we generate uh, visualizations. So the graphs, the charts that you see in financial reports or any forecast, those are generated by these professionals who understand data, who understand technology, but they also understand the business, and they create reports that are easy to read for people who are from business. That's also one part of data lifecycle for a professional. And that brings us to the next phase where we no longer just store data and then analyze the data that we have and make meaning out of it, but we see what can be done with it. Can we forecast the future? And that's where the next phase of being a data scientist or doing machine learning on it comes in. And saying that, I'll hand it over to Mandar, who is expert in that field.
Thanks a lot, Vishwajit.
Thanks.
So actually, I think you have covered most of the points that I wanted to. So so that's a good continuity, I think. So guys, like Vishwajit said, being a data administrator or a manager, or the techno-functional roles that all the roles that he just described, being a data scientist is, I think, just a next step to it. It's like you already have most of the things that you need, and all you need to do is start talking about what you have, and that makes you automatically makes you a data scientist. So I remember when I was talking to one of my mentors very early in my career, and that was the time when data warehousing was just a just a 2-pager in our syllabus. And when I started my career, I really didn't know what it meant to be a data scientist. And the first sentence that my mentor then said to me, it has stuck with me till now. So he said, the role of a data scientist is to convert databases into knowledge bases. So basically, all the difficult work has already been done by the data administrators, data managers, ETL guys, and your role is simple. You just keep looking at the data and try to make sense out of it. And that is what I think I've been doing for the past 13, 14 odd years. So basically, being a data scientist is I would say a par domain kind of a job. So you don't need to stick to a specific domain. If I talk about a bit about my background, I started my career as a bioinformaticist. So when I joined Persistent Systems, I knew a bit of what ETL is, what is programming, but I would say about 20-25% of programming, and the rest was only domain knowledge. But then I realized that only domain knowledge is not enough for being a data scientist, and then I started acquiring other skill sets that I needed. And of course, being in a technology field, you have to update yourself every couple of years because technology keeps changing. But as far as the data scientist and data administration and data management, entire plethora in India or globally is considered, we could easily call it one of the most upcoming fields at the moment. So, India today ran a survey last year in 2020, and their prediction was that, data analyst and data scientist jobs in India itself by 2026 will be about 11 million. So 11 million new jobs will be created in the next 5-6 years. And in fact, they said that since 2019, hiring people in IT industry, specifically for a data scientist role, has increased by 46%. This was between 2019 to 2020. And even after this rise, then in August 2020, 93,000 jobs in data science were still vacant only in India. So let's try to grasp what that means. That in August 2020, the Indian IT industry needed 93,000 people who had skill sets to become data scientists. And we are almost a year past that. And I'm sure that those 93,000 jobs have not been filled yet. And at least I would say another 93,000 jobs would have been added to it. The healthcare, if you go by the domains of what being a data scientist opens up, opportunities for you. I would say I've tried to gather this from these data points from a variety of resources in India as well as globally. And to summarize, the healthcare industry alone, which I work in, that's the reason I'm taking it first, is generating about 20,000 data scientist jobs and about 15 to 20,000 data analyst and data managers jobs every year in India. The automation industry itself creates at least 5,000 jobs for data scientists as well as data analysts both. It was doing so by the end of 2020. And the software development industry, of course, that's the most kind of the pivotal one, and it alone creates 1 lakh jobs every year for data scientists. And now the final kind of the pillar in the data science industry that provides opportunities and career options is the e-commerce, and that surpasses all these existing fields. So e-commerce creates about 2.5 lakh data opportunities, data scientists and data analyst opportunities every year just in India. So that's the humongous gap that we are seeing at the moment. And like I said, last year itself, 93,000 of those jobs were vacant. So if you really want to try your to make your career in data science, in data management, I think there's not going to be any other time like now. So and the best part is we guys are not affected by COVID-19. We can sit at home and work. So that's, I think, one of the biggest opportunities at the moment. And because the requirement and the gap is so much, there is work for all kinds of people. Like Vishwajit talked about a few of the technological roles. You want to be an ETL engineer, you want to be a data analyst, you want to be a data manager, you want to be a data warehouse administrator, you want to be a plain simple DBA. Everyone has nearly equal opportunities. Of course, the number of jobs, the compensations, etc. will differ based on the work and the domain that you're working in. And so there are always pros and cons for different roles. But yes, everyone can get jobs. Everyone has excellent opportunities. And so there was a review by Forbes magazine just a couple of months back, end of May, and they said that in India, data science, so being a data scientist and a data manager, data administrator, is still one of the highest paid jobs in India as well as the world. So, for example, if you consider the salaries of data scientists and compare them with software engineers, the average salary of data scientists in India is about 10 lakh rupees per year per annum. So that's the average package. While the average package for a software engineer is somewhere around 5.5 lakhs per year. So even the compensation part, it's nearly double that of other IT roles. So yes, I think an excellent field to be in at this moment today, and I don't see this going down anywhere in the next 20-25 years. The way people are trying to make use of data, novel ways coming out every day, and even we who have been working in this field for 5-10 years are dumbfounded by when we listen to or hear about ideas that people are implementing. So yeah, so Satyajit, I wanted to ask you, moving ahead, can you share one a specific incident or experience where it changed your perspective as to being a data administrator or a data manager?
Yeah, sure. So, like you said about the mentor, I would say the same was surprisingly true for me. So when I was doing my master's in IMCC, my guide actually asked me first question, uh, is your database ready? And what real world problem are you trying to solve?
Right.
I don't want to know anything, which technology you're using, how good you're at coding, or yeah, how complex functions you can write. I would say that actually steered me in the right direction, because the technology is there to serve people and not the other way around. So can we relate our expertise in data to the real world issues that are there, and can we make world a little bit better? I think that's the important thing, and that has been the driver for me. So yeah, and one other thing that I wanted to mention. Uh, so there's the business aspect
Right.
to the data. There is the technical aspect to the data, but along with that, there is also the social aspect.
Right.
So which is not talked about a lot, which brings in the questions about ethics, how we should use the data ethically, questions about privacy, about the security, and these fields are also upcoming kind of fields. So those are not yet fully explored. There's a lot of potential over there. You can be a data analyst, you can be a business analyst, you can do science, but the question remains, should you do it? Is
Right.
that a right thing to do? Do you
Right.
have a right to hold that data, especially with finance and even healthcare? The
Right.
data that is provided to the institutions, to the governments, to hospitals, to banks, is of huge impact for every person in the society. So there is a moral responsibility that comes with it, and it opens up opportunity for careers careers specializing in law, where data privacy is the
Right.
main focus. Uh, Again, yes, ethics. That's also one of the things. So on that front, I would like to ask you a question, because you work closely with the healthcare data.
Right.
What uh, should people be aware of while entering this field in
Uh,
terms of, yeah, all these things, social aspects?
Sure. So, actually, a very good question, and thanks for starting off the conversation with this. That's like you said, one of the most ignored part of the domain, the entire data science and data management domain. But that's the most important part of the same domain. So let me give you a small example. There was a startup in the US that started doing genomic data analysis about some 6-8 months back, 6-8 years back, sorry. So around 2013, 2014, they got some funding and started their business in California. And it was kind of a disruptive business model, and they became famous like anything. So they asked people to pay like $1,000 and so pay us $1,000 and get your data, your entire genome sequenced. And they hit about 2 million customers in the first 2 years. So a huge impact. And now the thing was exactly what you said about the social impact, and the ethical considerations of this. What they did was they had a small, byline in their contract with these customers. They provided the results in one of their own formats that is called as 23andMe format in the bioinformatics terms. And that format, the data could be analyzed only by their software. All right. And so now people paid $1,000, got their data sequenced, their data, the genome and ready, but they couldn't make use of that data. So they had to go back to the same company to make use of the data. And the moment they started doing that, they had to pay more. So people did pay more. And what happened was this entire thing hit the insurance business like anything. Because now a 20-year-old guy could spend $1,000 in the US, get his genome sequenced, and this company would tell him that, okay, by the time you turn 40, there is a high risk that you might develop diabetes. And insurance is a big thing in US. So what he does is he goes to his insurance provider, he gives him the reports for his medical tests saying, I don't have diabetes and I want a plan that covers diabetes. And his insurance plan covers diabetes at a very low cost. And the moment these companies realized, there was a huge legal battle in the US, and the effect was the US courts stopped all kinds of such services for nearly 5 years until this could be resolved. And that because of that, genomic research took a big hit all over the world. So these are the considerations that and then that is when these companies started hiring data scientists who specifically work on their ethics committees. So now most of these startups have an ethics committee of 4 or 5 people where data scientists do nothing else but analyze the ethical necessities of dealing with healthcare data. So again, like you said, it requires a mixture of skill sets. You need people who have done law, so you need advocates, you need even accountants. So everyone, a person from a commerce background, background of law, background of a software developer, of course, a domain expert like someone like myself who is a zoologist by training, has an excellent opportunity in this field.
Indeed. And yeah, data basically touches all aspects of our lives. Right. So it's no longer a standalone field, but whatever expertise you have, if you add data specific skills to it, right, I think that can become a job profile in itself.
Absolutely. So let me quickly interrupt you because you said this. I remembered a very interesting conversation that I had with one of my colleagues a couple of months back. So we are presently doing a project on genomic data analysis, where we are dealing with pharmacogenomics data. So effect of your genome on the drugs that you take. So the other way around. So and we came across a very unique use case. So there are a few companies in Europe and USA who have created their own niche or their own domain in data science. And all of these are travel agencies, by the way. So the moment I heard that, I was like, my interest got piqued, because that was the first time I was hearing that a travel agency is running data science business. And they are working with genomics companies. They are looking for genomics startups to do business with. So, and like you said, they have created a unique business model out of this. So in the US, the population of the US comes from all different ethnic backgrounds. So the Native American population is very low; they are a minority there, and the majority are people who have migrated from Europe. So there'll be French people, Portuguese people, Britishers, everyone. Then there's a major population now of Asians, Chinese, Indians, Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, etc. And because all of these have settled there for 2, 3, 4, 10 generations, they have lost touch with their roots, their heritage of where they are from, and they now identify themselves as Americans. Now these businesses, what they do is they go and contact people who are about to get married, or newlyweds, and they say, okay, you both are Americans, but probably the groom has a Latin American background, and the bride is from French heritage. And then they ask them, do you really want to understand where you come from, or where you came from, let's say 5 centuries back? And of course the newlywed are interested, and they say, okay, now what we'll do is we'll take some samples from you, some blood sample. So they get the blood sample, they get their genome analyzed, and they do what is called as ancestry studies. And based on their ancestry studies, they go and tell them, okay, you are from this small town in France. So that's the detailing that they're doing at the moment. And they tell to the groom that you are from this small village in Brazil. And what we can do is, over the next 5 years, we can allow you to explore your roots. So you book a package with us, okay, and we'll take you to that French village, we'll take you to the Brazilian village, and that's a huge hit in US at the moment. So this is where you can they saw opportunity where there was none, and they created a unique business out of it. So that's, I think, the beauty of being a data scientist.
True. So basically, you have a tool set, just like you can have different paints and brushes. It's up to your creativity, what you do with it.
Exactly.
How do you relate it with the real world problems?
Right.
So in terms of technical skills, we talked about content, but I also want to touch upon that a bit. So I would say whoever wants to dive into this, maybe we can discuss on which technical skills they can start with. I would say as simple as Excel and VBA scripting and one simple database like Oracle or MySQL would be a start. And then from there, it can be big data, Hadoop, cloud providers that are there. So
Correct.
Azure, AWS, Google, deep learning methods that can be also used. Visualization tools,
Right.
those are also useful. So what would you add from data science perspective to this list?
Actually, I would say there's nothing to add. The reason being, you emphasize the right point. So when in my organization, my company, when we have some openings, we call people up for interview for data scientist or junior data analyst positions. We are seeking freshers. One thing that I have noticed in the past 5-10 years is these multiple jargon are thrown around in the market. Big data, and like you said, the technologies that are going ahead. Do you know Hadoop? Do you know this visualization tool? Do you know that visualization tool, etc. What's happening is, people come to me saying, we have done a 3-month project in Hadoop. Okay, I say, all right. They will tell me, we have done, I have completed 2 projects in R. I say, all right, can you create a small data model for me for this example? And then they cannot proceed ahead, because in learning the higher skills, I think they have started, some of them start ignoring the basics. So what you mentioned is of paramount importance, I guess, to have at least one skill set which you are a master in. So you should know, let's say Python scripting. Okay, fine. You don't know R. That's not an issue. You can learn R whenever you get the chance to. But do you know the concepts of scripting? Do you know the concepts of what ETL is, what a data model is, how to create databases, what are relational databases versus non-relational databases, what is to be used where, etc. So the basic concepts, if they are clear, I think that's an excellent start point. And frankly, technology is going to keep changing. There are going to be new and new tools that come up every year, and you could learn them as you go ahead.
True. being technology agnostic is the trend indeed.
Right.
So if you know how to handle data, how to model it, and how to relate it to the problem that you are trying to solve, then you can uh, obviously proceed. But yes, on the other hand, you definitely need to have your tools sharpened.
Of course, of course.
So like you said, you need to learn a language, be it Python, be it R, but don't get fixated on only certain skill set. Or
Exactly.
definitely, like you said, I have also seen colleagues who are fixated on trying to do deep learning. Yes,
Right.
it's about the problem that you want to solve and not what tool you have. So, for example, if you want to hang a photo frame, you need hammer and nails.
Right.
If you have even if you have a road roller, you can't solve that problem using road roller. So
Right.
just because you
Exactly.
have that skill, or just because that is cool nowadays, you
Yeah.
can't solve that problem.
Right.
So you should have a skill set, and then you should envision where you want to head, and you can see if your current skill set is useful for that. And just like any other IT related jobs, you have to keep updated on the technology front. You have
Absolutely.
to keep your base strong. SQL, one scripting language, one visualization tool, some basic understanding of business, and then
Right.
explore explore the world basically.
That's right. So yeah, that's very essential. And secondly, I think coming back to the point that you actually started with, that you come from a very technical background and you started understanding the domain when you got interested in it, a bit later in your career. So you started being a technical guy, a software developer, and now you are, a data scientist. What I think is important is, also bringing in specificities from not just the domain knowledge, but also from the technical knowledge. So, for example, you can be a commerce graduate and you do MCA, let's say, after doing BCom, and uh, you have the excellent, I would say, match. You have the commerce knowledge and you have the technical skill set now. So you're ready to dive deep into, financial domain, fintech, as well as services. So that's another actually thing that everyone should consider, that it's not just about working on cool products, or working with cool fintech platforms, or working with cool health tech platforms, let's say. uh, it is as small as can you be a service provider for a local business? And actually, even that's a huge opportunity at the moment. So especially given the times, COVID-19, every grocery shop on the corner is looking for an app out there. And there are hundreds of different services. There is Dunzo, there is Swiggy, there is Zomato, and whatnot. And so that's actually a huge data opportunity, because coincidentally, we had a couple of interns last year who did a very interesting project. They went and talked to 2000 plus grocery shops in Pune, and they gathered the data. They literally printed some forms and did survey, like marketing guys do. All of these were, BE students, BE computer students, and they went from shop to shop, collected data. They came back, put that data into an Excel sheet, and only using Excel sheet, they created an excellent data model. And now we are creating a prediction algorithm, saying based on what kind of shop, what is the customer base, and what is the monthly turnover. Based on that, should that shop go to towards digitization or automation or not? So that's the kind of project that the next batch of interns is doing with us. So even taking a local problem and figuring out an excellent solution for the local problem, would open up avenues of career opportunities for you.
True. So yeah, completely agree with Excel. The more expertise you gain, you end up working with Excel.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can start with Excel and aspire to end up working with Excel ultimately, where you have that learning curve, data professional
Right.
life cycle, where you go through all the technologies, understanding all the tools, business, and you reach a moment where when you see the report, you can make a decision that affects millions of lives, or can make millions of dollars.
Yeah, absolutely true. So on that point, I wanted to ask you a question. So now that you've been in fintech for so many years, what do you see? Can you see? Can you kind of comment on how the challenges in fintech have changed? Let's say you were 10 years back to now. So is there change of perspective that the present students should have going out into the market if they aspire to work in fintech? Or is
Yes,
the old generation outlook fine?
definitely. Especially in fintech, we used to say, I got job in bank, so it's 9 to 5 and that's it.
Right.
But the banks don't work like that anymore. Especially with ATMs, cards, it started changing. But now with Paytm, basically money wallets, online
Right.
transactions, you have to be doing business around the clock. So you will
Right.
generate lots of data. You need to make sure that it is secure. You need to make sure that your platforms are available, they are functioning properly. But also with this huge amount of data that you get, can you
Mhm.
drive more business? And I think that's the new, not necessarily challenge, but that's the new way of doing banking in a way. So the old banks have started doing that because there were disruptors like Paytm.
Right.
It came out of
Right.
nowhere. It was just an app. So every business knows if they want to increase their customer base or create a new customer base, how difficult that is. Paytm just launched an app. Now they are a bank and they have a good customer base. So they are a
Right.
disruptor. So the way of thinking, where technology is just an add-on or just an expense, is changing. So for businesses, even for banks, it's no longer an expense. It's the way of doing business. It's becoming integral part. And yeah, that basically sums up our conversation also in a way, that
Right.
data is not standalone. It's the part of domain in which you are working. So yeah.
Yeah. And I think since we are talking about banks and fintech and the domain that you work in, and there has already been a seminar by Atul Naik sir on cyber security. I think that is also just to highlight that is also one of the least sought after field, and which has excellent opportunities because at the moment I perceive cyber security is always related to mostly fintech, a bit about social media platforms, but cyber security is essential in kind of every domain that you work in. And being a data scientist in the cyber security domain is huge, because you are one, it is a job of highest responsibility, because the data scientist is expected to give to provide the cues of where cyber security is needed. And that's kind of the most sought after position at the moment, at least in fields like health tech, in automation. So for example, if I am take the example of the present COVID app in India. So and compare it with what happened 5 years back with the Aadhaar system. When Aadhaar system was being developed and was being implemented, there was huge cyber risk analysis done. And every 15 days, one media platform used to come out and say, oh, these are the risks, these are the problems, these are the gaps. I attended a conference in about 2015 or 2016, where a person came, opened up Google, and showed us how you could search for any Aadhaar number just using Google. Okay, and you try that now, you can't do that. So of course that has been updated. The security has been increased, the algorithms are better now, etc. But if you compare that with today, that did not happen with Arogya Setu app or Covin. That's because I think the right people were in place who could make the right decisions, and data scientists played a very huge role in doing so. So I think when you think about your career in data scientist, you should also, of course, think about what you can do as a data scientist in cybersecurity. That's also a cool domain to work in at the moment.
True. I'm not sure how we are doing on time front.
Yeah, I think we are almost done. Should we go ahead for questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we'll open the forum for questions now. One of our participants, Divya Shah, wanted to ask you a question. Divya, can you please unmute and ask?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Actually, I am in 12th now. My result would be there in 2-3 days. So I just wanted to ask that I am planning for a BCA course in IMCC only. And I am not sure if I should do it or not. I am very much pretty good at programming. I have taken my IT subject in 11th, 12th. From MES Junior College, I have done my 12th, 11th and 12th. So I am pretty much confused if I should do it or not, and what I should do after doing MCA, or what should I do in specifications in MCA.
Okay.
I think Vishwajit, you would be the better guy to answer this.
Yes. So I would say one thing. Sorry, I hear my voice back. There's some echo.
Divya, can you unmute? Now please try, sir.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, it's better. So I would say if you're in 12th, have some career goals in mind, but don't get fixated. I think Mandar also mentioned about data warehousing being one chapter in
Right.
his syllabus. That was true for me as well. Database management system had there was one subject for database management system, one chapter for data warehouse, and my entire career is on that one chapter.
Right.
I didn't know what is there out in the world, how the industry looks. So yes, do some research, but don't get fixated on one particular career path, because especially if you are in 12th, maybe by the time you do MCA, let's say 3 + 3, 6 years, the landscape will be completely different. So
Right.
with the information that you have in hand right now, from your own research, from other students, from experts, take some decisions and correct them as you proceed. So like you said, you are good in programming, so let's say that part is covered. Can you learn some functional thing? So
Right.
it's not necessarily only about the academics. You need to be good in academics, but if you do MCA and you want to pursue career in banking, you can always do some certification on the side, or vice versa. If you are studying let's say BBA, you are learning business administration, so you are covered with financial background, go for Python courses. So don't think that if you choose certain career path, you are confined in that particular area. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I would say go with your gut feeling, but keep your eyes and ears open for the years coming.
Exactly. And to add to that, Vishwajit, I think everyone, especially students of the present generation, should keep this in mind, that you guys need to change your perspective about your career. So my generation, Vishwajit's generation, we had a set goal. I want to do BSc, I wanted to do MSc, and then I want to do something in bioinformatics. I never knew what that something was, but that was my end goal till I completed my MSc. Nowadays, the all the fields are so interdisciplinary that you, like Satyajit said, you guys should, sorry, sir, like Vishwajit said, you guys should keep your eyes and ears open. Uh, let me give you an example. We hired a content writer last year. Okay, this guy is excellent in writing English content, and we wanted to hire him for our documentation processes internally, and he has done BA in English. Okay, and he stopped his education. He didn't pursue post graduation, and he started working in a call center first. Then he did some content writing, freelancing, and then we hired him. 1.5 years into his job, he not just writes content for me, he also completely manages my SEO, my search engine optimization. And how he did that was he did certifications on the side, exactly what Vishwajit said. And now he has a completely new set of skill sets, and he's kind of irreplaceable in my team now. So you keep that in mind, that whatever course you select, of course you should select based on what you like, but that's not the end of the universe. Okay, if you do BCA, you can still opt for a job in banks. If you do BCA and then want to pursue MCA, excellent. So job opportunities are going to be everywhere, but you have to have the right skill set, and you can acquire that even though that is not a part of your syllabus.
Sir, in line
Thank
with
you,
your
sir.
answer, I would also like to know, can you just guide, maybe because these students after 12th are very curious to know what extra certifications they can go in. They're confused with so many courses available around. Specific, if you could give us 1 or 2 courses that with these 3 years of graduation can these students learn and they could come out well out of their graduation. Some specific skills. Yes.
Yeah, I would say Azure fundamentals can be a
Yes.
start if they want to work specifically in technical side, because now everything is moving towards cloud. So
Right.
as soon as they get acquainted with cloud technologies, not necessarily Azure fundamentals, any fundamental courses in Azure or AWS or Google Cloud, that will help. Apart from that, specific certifications for databases could also help. So Oracle or SQL Server have their own certifications. Yeah, those will be beneficial. Mandar, if you have something.
That's exactly right. What I would like to add is nowadays there are excellent e-learning platforms who are giving really value addition courses. So for example, there's Coursera, there is Udemy, and the investment is pretty low. On Udemy you can get a course, a 2-month course for 400 rupees. So you get a certificate, you get to learn, the content is really good. People who actually like to teach are asked to create courses there. So it's not like they pay some guy to create some random content. So the courses are really well thought after, and I would say students can even try those out to get to know what their skill sets are or what they're interested in. So you could try a course in Python programming. You could try a course in cloud computation like AWS or maybe Azure, and then you realize at the end of 2 weeks of your course that I'm not that interested in cloud computing. That's fine. Again, that's not the end of the world. There are 100 other fields available, 100 other domains within IT available that you can pursue.
Yeah, there is a saying in Sanskrit, Sarvadeva Namaskara Keshavam Pratigachati.
Exactly. Right.
It's
I think
like
it
that.
applies here. Yeah.
You can choose multiple ways and reach your goal.
True. Again, in line with this answer, I was particularly curious to know from zoology to data scientists today, from electronics to data management today, what was going in your mind and how did you all make this shift in your career? Both of you.
Vishwajit, you can take it first.
Yeah. So especially while learning electronics, I got interested in C, C++, and I thought that's the real deal.
Okay.
If I could do C, C++ and do some embedded systems coding, that's my future goal. when I came to MCA, it opened uh, completely new horizon for me. So, like I said, it gave me new perspective. It's not only about electronics or operating systems or using embedded systems. There is data, there is web development, and from there, yes, in database, I got interested, and fortunately, I also got good mentors in my first company, TCS, who guided me towards the data path, because the tools that I used, they are not known. So Informatica, I had never heard name of Informatica before in my life. So there is a legit career that you can do with things that you don't know about. So I think
Right.
for me, it was always being curious, always being open. Yeah, my dream was to be embedded systems engineer. Then it changed to becoming Java coder who writes 1,000 lines of code without bug in a day. And then I ended up being a data expert, and after that being a data expert with financial expertise. So I think for me especially, it was being curious, like Steve Jobs has said, stay hungry and stay foolish.
Correct, true.
Right. So, to somewhat Vishwajit said, to sum it up, I think the takeaway message should be it's okay to change your dreams. So, or change your goals. You know, if I can't reach a specific goal, or if I get interested in a different goal, you know, even in the middle of my career, I think that's absolutely fine. Like Vishwajit said, even for me, I think it was a more of an exploratory kind of an approach of what all I could do. Being a zoologist, you know, I was more interested in the genomics part of my subject. And what fascinated me was, you know, when we were learning the basics of genomics in my BSc, we had to there's a concept called as sequence alignment, where, you know, take two sequences and compare them with each other. And as an example, so we were given a sequence of, you know, a string of, you know, 50 characters, two strings of 50 characters, and we were asked to compare. And there's an algorithm that has been developed, and we had to write everything on paper and, you know, align those. And it used to take like 6 to 7 full-scape sheets to be filled in with a matrix to align two strings of 50 characters.
Okay.
And once that exercise was done, that is when our professor then said, okay, now these 6, 7 sheets that you have filled up, a computer will do this for you in less than a second. You know, and I think that's what piqued my interest in, specifically in, you know, how data can be managed and automated electronically. And from that, I think that is the point where I might have, you know, subconsciously decided to, you know, start looking at data. But the other, you know, the other steps in my career were exploratory kind of. So I was fortunate enough to get, you know, mentors in my earlier companies, even some of my clients who mentored me, guided me. There was a professor that I was working on an academic project in Persistent, and I worked with that professor for about 5 years on that project. And when I was visiting US on site, the first you know, Friday, my first Friday in the US, he asked me, okay, Mandar, what are you going to do on your weekend? So I said, nothing, I'm going to go out and you know, explore the city. I asked him, what are you going to do? So he said, you know, I have 4 screens installed on at my home, and whenever I have leisure time, I just open up some databases. So we were working on, you know, clinical trial management systems then. So I open up the database and I keep looking at data for maybe 3-4 hours.
My God.
So, you know, that was his pastime. So, you know, well, of course, no one has to be that crazy, but but you know, that those are the kind of things that people do, that data scientists do, you know, and so that again piqued my interest in you know, various perspectives of how we can look at the same data from different points of view, etc.
Okay, thank you so much for answering that question. We have I think Vaidya sir wants to ask something.
Yes, this question is for both Mandar and Vishwajit. खरं सांगायचं तर आता बरेचसे जण जे जॉईन झालेले आहेत त्यातले काही जण हे ग्रॅज्युएट करणारे पण आहेत, काही जण पोस्ट ग्रॅज्युएट करणारे पण आहेत, किंवा काही जण जे बघतायत, काही जणांचे पालक पण आहेत. त्यामुळे नेहमी असा प्रश्न पडतो, जसं आता मंदारच्या ओव्हरऑल प्रोफाईल मध्ये सांगताना ते झुलॉजी आहे आणि नंतर त्यांनी कम्प्युटरला स्विच केलं. तर मला एक स्पेसिफिकली प्रश्न विचारायचा आहे की आता डेटा सायन्स ही तशा बघितलं तर ब्रँच ऑफ कम्प्युटर मानली जाते, पण तिचं मॅक्झिमम ऍप्लिकेशन हे नॉन कम्प्युटरच्या याच्यामध्ये जास्ती आहे. त्यामुळे जर कम्प्युटरचं बॅकग्राऊंड जर असेल ग्रॅज्युएशनचं आणि त्याने डोमेन नॉलेज घेतलं तर ते जास्त बेनिफिशियर आहे का? किंवा पोस्ट ग्रॅज्युएशन मध्ये पण त्याने कम्प्युटरचं नॉलेज आहे आणि डोमेन नॉलेज जर असं घेतलं तर ते जास्त बेनिफिशियर आहे का? आणि लकीली काय झालंय की आपण कोविड बायोअनालिटिक्स बरोबर आपला आता रिसर्च आणि अकॅडमिक्स मध्ये एमओयू पण झालाय, त्यामुळे त्याचा एक ऍडव्हान्टेज आपल्या आयएमसीसी आणि सिनियर कॉलेजच्या विद्यार्थ्यांना मिळणारच आहे. पण मला असं वाटतं की बेसिकली हा जर थोडंसं समजलं ना, काही तर अदरवाईज मुलं क्लिनिकल आणि असं म्हटलं की जाणार आहे, मग हे असं कसं काय? तर मला असं वाटतं दोघांनी त्याचं उत्तर दिलं तर जरा जास्त उपयोग होऊ शकेल.
नक्कीच नक्कीच वैद्य सर. सो आय थिंक मला असं वाटतं की विश्वजितची आता त्यांचं इंट्रोडक्शन दिलं आणि सगळं तो बोलला, त्यातून हे लक्षात येईल की हॅव्हिंग अ टेक्निकल स्किल सेट अँड देन गोइंग इन टू डोमेन और अंडरस्टँडिंग द डोमेन is always going to give you a bit more advantage. So personally, from my experience, I am a zoologist, a bioinformaticist, but my technical skill set is very limited. So I had to exit technical role at a very early stage in my career. So 4 or 5 years into my career, I had to shift to business analysis and then to management. बट इफ स्पेसिफिकली जर तुम्हाला टेक्निकल रोलमध्ये खूप काळ राहायचं असेल, तुम्हाला प्रोग्रामिंग आवडतं, तुम्हाला टेक्निकल स्किल सेट्स चांगले आहेत, तर आय थिंक दिस इज अ बेटर पाथ की तुम्ही यू टेक टेक्निकल एज्युकेशन अँड देन इन्व्हेस्टिगेट अ स्पेसिफिक डोमेन अँड डेव्हलप स्किल्स इन दोज डोमेन. पण बाय डिफॉल्ट तुम्हाला जर एखाद्या डोमेन मध्येच नॉलेज आहे, पण तुम्हाला त्या डोमेन मधल्या डेटामध्ये काम करायचं आहे, तर देन आय थिंक द टेक्निकल स्किल सेट कॅन बी अन ऍड ऑन टू इट. पण ऑफकोर्स having excellent technical skills and then going into a domain is always going to be of advantage.
True. So basically technology is not separate. So technology part आहे आता प्रत्येक डोमेनचा. सो जर आपण स्टॅटिस्टिकली पाहिलं तर झुऑलॉजिस्ट जे इंजिनियरचं काम करतात और CS जे कोड लिहू शकतात यांची संख्या खूप कमी आहे. जर कम्पेअर केलं इंजिनियर्स जे फिनान्स समजतात और इंजिनियर्स जे बायोटेक किंवा बायो इन्फॉर्मॅटिक्सचं फील्ड समजतात. सो हे नक्कीच ट्रू आहे की जर तुम्हाला टेक्नॉलॉजी स्पेसिफिक काम करायचं असेल तर तुम्हाला टेक्नॉलॉजी येणं गरजेचं आहे. सो यू शुड बी एक्सपर्ट. तुम्ही त्यामध्ये एक्सपर्ट असणं कम्प्लिटली गरजेचं आहे आणि त्याच्यानंतर तुम्ही एक्सप्लोर करू शकता. हेच जर दुसऱ्या साईडने यायचं असेल तर बरेचदा मी हे नाही म्हणणार की अशक्य आहे, पण बरेचदा थोडा रेजिस्टन्स असतो टेक्निकल गोष्टी शिकायचा, कारण त्या डायरेक्टली बिझनेसशी रिलेटेड नसतात. सो जर्नी फ्रॉम टेक्नॉलॉजी टू बिझनेस इज easier.
Absolutely, I agree with that. And जेव्हा आपण when you come from a non-technical domain, you have already completed your education, you have started working, and then you start acquiring your technical skill sets. Even age matters in acquiring skills. So you are at an age where you are not that ready to learn new skill sets. Well, you can easily learn new skill sets when you are doing your education. So I think coming from a technical background into a domain is always going to be easier and is always going to be more fruitful than the other way around.
In continuation with answers from both of you, like for example, if we take the MCA program, for example, right, it has an opportunity for all those who have done any graduation and join for a technical program.
Right.
Like for example, somebody who done you have done the BSc Zoology and come for the MCA. So it is an added advantage. So
Right.
It's a nice opportunity for non-technical graduation can come for the postgraduate program in that thing. The same thing applicable with the graduation program also. Those who have come in the 12th, they don't have the science, right?
Right.
They have a commerce, but they want to pursue a technical program. So they can go for BBA, CA kind of thing.
Right.
So that's why that's why I asked you this particular question, that gaining the technical knowledge is also not that much difficult, and then moving towards the some kind of a domain or something like that. That's why I have asked you the question.
Right. And Vaidya sir, I would think, adding to your point, actually gaining technical knowledge and then going into the domain is much more easier in terms of your career. Because like I said, by personal experience, if you go the other way around, if you acquire technical knowledge later, you cannot stay afloat in the technical streams of your career for too long. You have to shift back to your domain. But the other way around, I know, so like exactly like what Vishwajit said, I know people who have been developers, who have done their MCA, you have done their MCM or BE in computers, in electronics, and who work with me as data scientists in bioinformatics. And they understand the same biology that I do. But if you ask me to write the same code that they do, I might not be able to do that. So knowing technology first is always going to be advantageous.
And when we said before and after, it's about what you learn on the job,
Right.
not after 12th or graduation. So if you are BCom and you take admission for MCA, it's going to be an advantage. I can see myself doing BCom, learning finance earlier in career, doing MCA, and entering the industry with good knowledge of both the worlds. So
Right.
yeah,
True.
for banking, that can be a deadly combination actually.
Thank you, Vishwajit and Mandar, for answering my question.
Thank you so much, sir. There are no more questions, and I think we have already taken a lot of time of yours. We'll conclude this webinar for today. On behalf of all the participants and professors, I sincerely thank our Principal Dr. Santosh Deshpande sir for encouraging us to arrange this career guidance webinar series, Dr. Ravindra Vaidya for bringing us such wonderful experts from this field. My profound thanks to Mr. Vishwajit Khadilkar sir and Mandar Sahasrabudhe sir for accepting our invitation and giving our participants your valuable time and enlightening us on data management and data science and the various career opportunities available in these fields. We look forward to connect with you again in future events. Participants, before leaving, I'll just give you a reminder. We also have one more webinar scheduled on July 31st on career opportunities in IT. That's the poster. So we shall meet again on Saturday. Thank you one and all. Take care. And I now declare that the webinar has concluded.